when I'm doing my pricing and packaging, I'm also thinking about how can I do it in such a way? How can we demonstrate value in such a way that it helps us get more leads, helps build a better narrative, better story for our product marketers, and we don't get useless leads as well. We have something, some mechanism that also helps us to understand if it's a cold or a hot lead. So those perspectives, understanding others, right? How others are thinking, what are their success parameters, and thinking of making everybody else successful around you. I think that's the art a product marketer coming into the field can master, and they will be successful.
Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the latest episode of Scale, a podcast for product marketing managers who are building, positioning, and scaling tech products in Africa. I'm your host, Carla Maberi, and I'm a senior product marketing manager currently based in Nairobi, Kenya. Today, I am so delighted to be joined by Shah Choudhury, who's a product pricing expert, who's currently the director, product and pricing corporate strategy at Salesforce. He previously worked as Simon Kucher, where he supported companies that targeted C-suite clients across different industries such as energy, hospitality, and professional services with their pricing, packaging needs, monetization, and go-to-market strategy. Thank you so much for joining us, Shah. How are you doing, first of all?
I'm doing great. Happy Friday. Fridays are always a great day. And then talking on a podcast, I enjoy talking about pricing. So thank you for inviting me and hope you're doing well too.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm actually still at the office. We had an event. Guys have left, but I was like, let me record this podcast first before I head back home. So I think we'll start by you telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into product marketing and decided to sort of focus on pricing. I mean, it's such a tough and interesting specialization. So maybe take us through that.
Okay. So yeah, nowadays I'm considered a pricing expert, but my journey to pricing strategy was very accidental. None of it was planned. So I'll start from where I am today. So today I'm a director of monetization strategy at Salesforce. I am the monetization lead for our service cloud portfolio, which is a pretty big portfolio. And I've been at Salesforce in this team, the monetization strategy team, for almost 3 years. I've worked across different clouds. So started off with marketing cloud, worked in Commerce Cloud, which is our e-commerce platform solution. And then currently I'm in Service Cloud. So it's been pretty interesting going across the different business lines. Before coming to Salesforce, I learned pricing strategy at a consulting firm. So Simon Kucher. So Simon Kucher is the world's leading pricing strategy consulting firm. They focus a lot on growth strategy, pricing strategy, sales effectiveness, all of these components. And when I was there, I did a lot of projects in terms of different size of tech companies starting from enterprises to startups to unicorns. And I did a lot of projects on restaurants as well. So pricing for burgers, fries, and shakes, there are a lot of similarities. And you'll see, I'll use a lot of those kind of like examples when we go into the discussion. So that's kind of my journey of Simon Kucher and then Salesforce and pricing strategy. Before that, I used to be an engineer. So oil and gas engineer, I was a drilling engineer, working in India, Russia as a part of Schlumberger. Then I was a reliability engineer at Chevron. So very different kind of like profession. Then I did an MBA. And when I was doing an MBA as an engineer, I felt, pricing strategy. It's pretty interesting. There's some science to it. There's some art to it. And then there is no right answer. So that kind of like piqued my curiosity. And eventually things happened. I had great mentors. Philip Dowse, my partner from Simon Kucher, he was one of my mentors, I would say piquing my interest in pricing strategy. And then I had some other great mentors like Dave Clement. He's a partner at Simon Kucher as well. So eventually seeing them, how great they are doing, their thinking, and how they're impacting businesses using growth strategies and pricing strategies, that's what kind of like piqued my interest and has made me want to continue this journey even further.
Nice, like impressive background and experience. I looked at your LinkedIn, I was like, oh my goodness, like you've done so much in such a short time. Very impressive. I think that's commendable.
Accidental. I'm originally from Bangladesh. I have been very fortunate. I grew up in Scotland, so I had the opportunity to see different perspectives of the world. And I have this thing I want to like take on things like risks. So I've seen that kind of like payback. It was painful times in the career, but now I would say combining it all together, it does seem that I've done some different things, which makes the story interesting.
I know. I love it, Johnny. So I think we'll just start with us, sort of you. Let's say, for example, somebody is new in the product marketing field, and they really want to understand pricing. It's something not most people do. Even PMMs, we tend to leave it to like PMs to do it. Sometimes, like we leave it to like ops to do work on the pricing. So how would you guide somebody who's new into the PMM space and they want to understand pricing?
So the first thing is taking a step back. Product marketing and pricing strategy, they are very interlinked, right? I mean, one is not without the other, right? You have to understand both to be successful. And why? First of all, what is the price? The price is the perception of the value, right? Like the first thing you're marketing is the price. If I see something, the same burger, $20, premium burger, maybe grass-fed beef or something, right? Burger $5. I don't even know what meat this is, right? So the first thing, you are doing marketing through the price itself, right? Now, the second step is you're justifying your price. Maybe the $5 price, that's fine, right? It's a different segment you're targeting. Maybe people or students who are like just going for tiffin or like just the break and everything. And then the $20 burger is maybe for corporates, events, and everything. And there is some value associated with that. So the first step of product marketing, price, then you justify the price according to value. So it's just it. What are our pricing strategies doing? They're trying to figure out the price in terms of value. Product marketing is trying to justify the price according to value. So you both are, one is figuring it out, one is to understand it and translate and justify it. So I think that's the connection. Somebody new into product marketing needs to understand that when price is being set, I need a voice at the table, because if it is a $5 burger and I tell you, hey, Carol, go and market this at $20, how are you going to do that? So you got to be pushed back and say,
Lindsay,
you're going to be selling anything. You need to make it $5 at max $7. That's the most I can market, right? A brand. And then $20 is a pipe dream. So just long story short, understanding that connection and making people aware, right? Not everybody understands this connectivity, right? Like how each other influence each other. So you're helping your stakeholders understand that this will make us successful. I think that's
I love that. I love that. And I love the two examples you've given. So we can just, I think it's given that pricing is a very tough thing to do and to strategize and work cross-functionally with other departments to come up with the correct price and even do like a little bit of market research. So how do you normally, how do you know that you have the right price? Pre-launch, and how do you go about continuously assessing after you've launched and the product is in the market to validate that this price you've set is still reasonable and it still communicates the value? How would you go about it?
great question. And there is a long answer to it, right? Like how to come up with the price. And then I like the piece where you said like, oh, how are you sure it's right? I'm never sure. I don't know. We pray. But I'm just saying. So what you're trying to do is you are trying to make the best judgment or the most informed decision, taking insights from different sources and aligning your strategic objectives and everything. So how do we think about pricing? So when you think about pricing in tech, for example, we're thinking about three main pieces, right? One is the packaging, right? What to sell to your customers. The second is the price model, how you charge your customers. And then the last one is the price level, the list price, how much we charge our customers. So these are the three pieces you're trying to figure out. So the first piece, packaging, you need a lot of help to figure that out, right? So product managers, they're the ones these are the different segments we're targeting. These are the jobs to be done. And this is how we think people will react to it in terms of adoption, in terms of uptake and everything. At the same time, you need to work with go-to-market, right? To understand, are these the right segments, the bullseyes, the ACV estimates and everything. Then you need to also work with competitive intelligence and product marketing to see have we been into these segments? Do you see any hope, right? Should we really target them? What is the total addressable market in terms of, and then if this packaging is going to work? So that is a very important piece. What to sell. So designing offerings or products or solutions in particular, targeting different segments so you can actually maximize your footprint, right? So that you never know if you're right, but you do try, right? You do a lot of research, you create hypotheses around packaging. For example, I can give a car example now. You want to sell BMWs, right? X1, X3, X5. There's different levels of it, good, better, best. Why are they designing it in that way? Because they want to target all three segments. Maybe Carol is willing to pay 49,999 for the X3, right? But I'm willing to pay 39,999 for the X1. And then we want to sell it to both of us. So designing the packaging in such a way that it aligns with your willingness to pay and needs. That's, I would say, the art of packaging. And we do a lot of research in terms of figuring out what does Carol want, what does Shah want, and then designing offerings in that way. So that's number
I
one.
love that. I love that. I really love that. But sometimes, even after we've set the price, we've gone to the market, we have the sales team on the ground. I mean, they're always met with the objection. Your price is too high. So how would you advise us to, work with the sales team to counter that?
No, great kind of like follow up on that. So as I was talking, packaging, you figured it out. Then you're thinking a lot about pricing, right? And these questions definitely come up every time. So when you think about pricing, there's the price level piece, which you heard, right? The complaint, hey, your price is too high, and that's the sticker price. Then there's another thing, how you charge your customers, especially in tech, because in tech, how you're focused on two things. One is monetization, and the other thing is adoption, right? So how you charge them? You can go in a subscription. You can go into a consumption-based pricing, right? You've heard these terms, product-led growth, land and expand. So pricing is another way you can drive those things. How do you make your customers adopt? So when you're thinking about a price model, you're always thinking about a win-win situation. So let's figure out a price metric. So let's say, Carol, you use a solution, you love it, you're using it, and then you're willing to pay up to $100 for it because the value you're getting out is $1,000. So I want you to use my solution. I want you to realize the value, and then I want a piece of that pie. So you feel good and I get rich, right? Win-win situation. So again, that's why what you try to design as well as you can to not have those kind of like objections from salespeople and customers and everything. You want it to be simple, predictable, transparent, and scalable. And then things kind of like flow through and you hear less objections. If you missed out on one of those pieces, simplicity, predictability, transparency, and scalability, then you will hear more and more objections from sales, from customers, and even your serving loyal customers as well.
Nice. I love that. And let's say, for example, your team is working on a repricing strategy, and then the team, so your company is working on a repricing strategy, but then the team that's owning that process is not the PMM department or team, or even the product management team. Let's say, for example, it's like the strategy team or ops working on the pricing. How would you advise a product marketer to influence that process without interfering with it?
So the first thing is you have to understand, like, it is the responsibility of a pricing strategist, right, to bring in all these parties, because my objective is to make a successful pricing strategy for my company. So my customers win, company wins, and obviously we all win as a team, right? So of course, product marketers. So there's like two pieces of it. One is my responsibility, right? Like my responsibility is I know finance is important because I need margin targets from them. I know product managers are important because I need to understand the product, the segments, the value, and the jobs to be done. Go to market is important because they help me understand what is the opportunity out there. And then product marketing is super important because I need to be able to translate all of this, not just to my customers, also to my sales, right? Like create plays around that. So the value is translated and customers can understand that. So you cannot do all of this in silo. You need to have very cross-functional stakeholders kind of like team, and then you can be successful in pricing initiative. So that's the first part. The second part, where you ask like, how do you influence people without rocking the boat too much, right?
Sure.
I think it always comes down to how do you be curious, right? So there's two pieces I would say. One is curiosity. There is genuine curiosity, right? That, okay, I really want to understand this. I really want to do a good job. I really want our product to be successful. I think that is a gift, and people should always lean into that. That's one piece.
Mhm.
The second piece is think about not just problems, right? How you can help. So, for example, you can come in and say, hey, this pricing is not going to help us. That's one way to say it. But the other way is, I think this pricing is not going to help us because it's too high, because I've heard these two things from a salesperson and a customer. And based on this, I think this is two other approaches we can think about. So that's how you frame the conversation. How you frame it, I think, is very important in terms of influencing others, because you don't want to come in and say somebody's doing a bad job. You want to come in and say you have some concerns and you
Yeah.
want to help them do a good job.
And you offer like even more suggestions and thoughts with the
I think that's the thing. And offering suggestions, again, how you offer it, right? I mean, there is the test of there was is like, oh, I think your idea is shit. You should do this. That's one way. And the other way is, I think this is great, but what about this? Can you do this? Should we think about this? So yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so now let's talk about like pricing, packaging in relation to like competitive positioning. I know. Okay, I'll give an example from here in Africa. We have a very price sensitive customer base. So sometimes they will just even like disqualify your product based on the price. They wouldn't even care to know about the value it offers, blah blah blah. So how do you normally relate pricing, packaging, and competitive positioning so that you don't lose out?
Very good question. And that is definitely something you're always kind of thinking about, right? Like
Yeah.
competitive pressure, and then you're like thinking about, okay, game theory. If I do this, they will do this. They'll do this, right? So you're trying to play out those strategies and steps, right, in your mind. So I would say one thing, like the first thing you always want to do is you want to understand your position in the market. And what I mean by that is there is a price, value, everything is a perception, right?
Sure. Sure.
So, what is the perceived value of your product, your solution versus your competitors in the market? You want to identify that. And generally we do that a lot in the world of consulting or measuring value. And it's a common question. You either ask like rate me and my competitor on a scale of 1 to 10, or you have a long list of parameters and then you try ask them to kind of like rate them on each of those parameters, which gives you a more granular kind of view. So that's one thing. You understand your position in the market. And then you try to do the same thing, understanding your price perception, right? Are you considered expensive or inexpensive? Sometimes you don't know, right? I mean, maybe McDonald's is considered expensive and Chick-fil-A is considered inexpensive. So I'm just, again, sorry, my fast food analogies, but you just kind of like saying, so you need to understand that when you're doing this kind of research or thinking about the competition. So when you know that, then you are either your value and price are not aligned. You're either below in terms of you're providing more value compared to the price. So that means you can attack, you can increase price, or you're maybe making too much money in terms of that. So I think that is an important thing. If companies can even do that study yourself, let's say you are a software provider and you do the study in terms of understanding the value. Like in the US, Gartner does this all the time in terms of the Gartner Magic Quadrant and everything. So your value is there, right? You go and say, look, we're better than them. Everybody thinks so. And that's why we charge more. So I'm making it simple. But that's the story you want to put in front of it, and through like crafting narratives, weaving narratives in however way you can. But yes, competition is very important. You need to understand where you stand. You need to know the plays they're making. One last thing I would say, you were saying that Africa, very competitive market, price sensitive. I'm also from Bangladesh, very price sensitive market as well. I understand that completely. But price wars are never good, right? I mean, you can go into price wars, but you always have to think, what is your market power, right? So if you're a small player and then you have a bigger player in the market, they can absorb more loss, just like Amazon does. And then you will crash out. So you have to find your unique value proposition, your unique segment, your unique niche. And then you can survive against like the big competitors.
The
Right?
big ones, yeah.
So it also depends who's your competitor, right? Like what is the competitive number? Is it a big one? Is it a peer? Is it a small one? And then you also adopt your strategy accordingly.
Nice, nice. I love that. So far we've talked about like a company, one product. Let's move to a company that has a portfolio of solutions. How would you maintain a consistent pricing and packaging, a consistent framework, throughout those products?
A very good question and very relevant to me as well. Like Salesforce, where I work, massive
Yeah.
company, we have a big pricing strategy team and everything. So all of that is like, and I see it, right? Like how to kind of like maintain it. And I can give you an idea. So I think the first thing you have to do is you need a centralized team, right? Massive company, massive portfolios. And these companies, if you think about the big companies like Microsoft and Salesforce of the world, they have like Xbox, cloud computing, this and that, right? Like it's massive, but then your brand, your price, your marketing, right? It's one thing, right? It's not separate. It's not in silos, right? It's
Yeah.
like it has to speak one language. So that's why I say centralized teams are important, not just for pricing. I would say even for product marketing for the same reason. You need a centralized team. I am part of the corporate strategy team. It's a centralized team. So that's
Nice.
one thing. The second thing is as you kind of like trickle in, right? You need experts, of course, who understand their portfolio very well, because again, massive portfolios. But then you need that kind of like when you're going bottoms up and tops down approach. So strategies, big frameworks coming up down from there, and then okay, input coming out from here. So that flow of information is very critical for big companies because you can have a crazy idea, but will it work? Is it real? Maybe not,
I know.
right? And then that reality has to be fed into that. And I really love that, like in companies where that flow of information back and forth is there. It's not hierarchical that, oh, we've decided to do it and you have to do it. I don't think if you take that approach, especially in this age where a lot of innovation is happening and very fast, and it's so many nuances around, you can't really be successful. So you need to have that flow for pricing, product marketing. I would say all these kind of like DNAs of your company, like which needs to speak one language under one roof.
Nice, nice, nice. I love that. So we can now, you know, come 2 or 3 steps lower and talk about so because the scale podcast normally targets like PMMs who are entering the field, trying to understand how things work, and most of them you'll find that they are the only PMMs in their companies. So let's say, for example, somebody approaches you and they ask you, I want to own the pricing bit when it comes to my early stage startup. What tips and guidance would you offer me?
Great question. So first of all,
Mhm.
pricing strategy. Now we talk about it a lot and everything. It's my life now. But let's be very honest. Before 2017, I didn't even know this existed, right? As a function, as a job, as a career ambition. No way. And now I think this is going to be my job for the next 30 years or 40, I mean, however long I'm working, right? So
Yeah.
why I'm saying this is the world is changing very fast. AI, the way we work, the way work is being done, right? Everything is changing very fast. So when somebody new, you ask like somebody new to this field, what they should be doing and everything. That's why I don't want to give like any straightforward advice because straightforward advice is not going to work or cut it. So what I say is be curious. Number one. Number two is you have ChatGPT at your hands, right? If you're a product marketer, you always want to understand why are we marketing this product? in this way. Understand the different lenses, right? Not tools, not like data analytics tools. Everybody asks me, hey, what tools do you use? Tools are irrelevant in this world. I can ask ChatGPT and it'll do all the analysis for me. You want to know, you want to understand the nuances. You want to understand the trends and everything. And that's what I'm saying. A product marketer needs to understand a product when they're thinking about marketing it through the different lenses. How a pricing strategist thinks, how a product manager thinks, what are their success KPIs? If you can understand those, then you are going to be a better product marketer. For example, I'll tell you, I know what product marketing's KPIs are in terms of success. They want to get more leads, more hot leads, right? They don't want to use those leads. So those are the KPIs. So when I'm doing my pricing and packaging, I'm also thinking about how can I do it in such a way? How can we demonstrate value in such a way that it helps us get more leads, helps build a better narrative, better story for our product marketers, and we don't get useless leads as well. We have something, some mechanism that also helps us to understand if it's a cold or a hot lead. So those perspectives, understanding others, right? How others are thinking, what are their success parameters, and thinking of making everybody else successful around you. I think that's the art a product marketing marketer coming into the field can master, and they will be successful.
Nice, nice. And I love that you've mentioned about the changing times and there not being like a solid blueprint for you to follow throughout because things are changing. That's true. So now let's talk about competitive intelligence and pricing. How have you handled it before? I know we do competitive intel when you're positioning products into the market. So that's like broader, but how would you handle it when it comes to pricing?
Competition is very important. I mean, people ask me, hey, how can I take on a incumbent or something? I'm like, look at the history. There's only one play, to be honest. Better product, cheaper price. You will get into the market, you'll get market share.
Yes.
You will become a company, right?
So, yeah.
Definitely. Very important. So how do we take account of it, right? It depends, as I was mentioning, what is the competitive stand, right? So if you're a market leader yourself, you have a different way to approach it. If you're catching up in a market, there's a different way to approach it, right? So one is where you are setting the trends, and the other way is where you're following the trends. I think following the trends is easier, right? You are like the second or third player. Obviously, the first player is big. They're going to do the new stuff. You follow through, and then you're thinking through how can I do something different or unique that they're not doing, which will help me create a different value proposition. So I think that is easier. Like when you have it's always like that, right? Like when you have a target in front of you, it's easy to climb and everything. But when you're at the top, it's like, how do you stay at the top? So I think when you're at the top, it's more because you are the one with the bullseyes on your back, right? So then you're thinking through and looking at what others are doing. So one of the key things when you're thinking about that is you have a particular strength. Nobody is good at everything.
Yeah.
Right? You are either good at enterprise or you're either good at SMBs. You have a specialization in one of those. So what you're trying to do in that stage when you're at the top, you protect your turf very well, and then you try to create deterrence going into the other one's turf, so they don't come into your one. So that's how you kind of like balance it out in competitive world. That okay, you want enterprise customers, I'll take all your SMBs. Don't come here this year, and then you're creating packaging and pricing in terms of one is definitely the price piece, but also like creating deterrence around the portfolios that you don't kind of like move into each other's territories.
Nice, nice. I love that. So now we can talk about the contentious topic of who should own pricing. Should it be PMM? Should it be PMs? And your thoughts in terms of why the PMs should own it and not the PMMs.
This is a very good question, and this comes up all the time. I think it used to become, it was more debated in a few years back, especially when I was even recruiting when from Simon Kutcher to tech companies. There was a question I was asking everyone, right? Hey, where should pricing be? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So long story short, I've seen it in three organizations generally. One is product management, right? Like even in Salesforce, we're under like this product org and everything. I've seen it under finance at times as well, and product marketing. So the finance one doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. For a tech company, for other places, yes, it makes sense because it is, you have a cost, right? Fixed cost, variable cost, whatever. And then you have margin targets and you can price accordingly. Software or tech doesn't work that way, right? You have invested billions of dollars, you have made something, and now you have that advantage, right? Before others catch up. So you have to monetize in that way, not thinking about cost, fixed cost, variable cost, which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So very different. So that's why I say finance doesn't work for tech. Product management, product marketing, both can work. I think product management, I would align more closely towards them. The reason is you need to understand, like, you, even before a product is being built, when you incept product, right? The product itself, you need to ask these very tough questions. First, in terms of product market fit, the first question is easy. Is this something that makes people's life easier, better, a solution people get delighted or love? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yes. Second question is, are they willing to pay for it?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're not doing a charity here unless we are.
Yep.
And then the third one, how much are they willing to pay for it? Because maybe it will cost me $500 million investment to make this product. If I cannot recoup $2 billion, what's the point of the investment, right? So that's why product management is where I think, and or it could be even higher, right? Like a CEO's org is part of that kind of like C-suite, which is the direction. Monetization and pricing strategy is becoming like more broader, but I would say that's why I think product management is very important. And one thing, I have this book always, Monetizing Innovation. So this book is written by a partner, Madhavan from Simon Kucher, and it talks about all of these things in terms of even before you build out the product. Why build out 10 features where people only want 6 and they're willing to pay for 6?
Yeah.
Don't waste resources. Do it right. So think, take time, reflect,
Yeah.
do it right.
Thanks. I love it. And thanks for the book recommendation. I'm sure the PMS will take note of it and go and read. Thank you. So let's have this scenario. You've done the pricing of a product that's already in the market, so it's not something you're newly launching. How do you roll it out? What's the process you take so that you don't ruffle feathers, you don't lose clients because of the change in price?
No, that's a very good question. And definitely we do a lot of planning for these kind of things, right? Like, so one is the strategy part. Strategy is as good as the execution or the implementation, right? And you have to plan. How do you communicate pricing is very important. And I think Kyle is, I really love, like, he's a big pricing guru. He's an OpenView. He was an OpenView partner. He used to work at Simon Kucher as well. So anyways, follow his posts. Really great. So he had a post, I think it was about how to raise prices and how to not raise prices. So Spotify did a price raise. I think that was terrible. And then others did it. So communication, right? So it's some small details. How you communicate the price increase, like, oh, we're just increasing price because we feel like it. Or is it's like, hey, inflation, we have increased these features, this value, you're using our solution more, we are growing, and we think to be in business, be successful, and to keep serving you, we're doing this price raise. Very different narrative, right? So that's one thing. How do you let's say, tackle customers in a personalized manner? So, for example, when you're doing a price increase, not everybody cares, right? Some customers love the solution. For example, I love ChatGPT. $20, they make it 30. I won't care.
Yeah.
But so a lot of people won't, right? So you try to understand who are your customers, right? That they will take the price increase like a boss. They don't care. And then who are the people who will never take the price increase and they will churn? Special care for them. And who are the people in between, right? They might call you, they might not call you, so you be prepared for it. So you are always trying to think through those things, right? Understand people's pulse, understand it from data, art and science, and then create plans that you can execute, right? Sometimes they go really well, solid, everything works out. Sometimes they don't, and it's on the news.
Nice. I love that. I love the way you've classified and said we need to be communicating differently to different customer segments. Yeah, I love that. So now let's say, for example, somebody or a company wants to do like a product pricing overhaul, what are the risks they should be watching out for? So before they even sit down to start strategizing, or when they're strategizing, what risks should they be anticipating?
So the first thing I think is the companies, yes, making a pricing change is easy. Easy in the sense that, okay, I charge $15 today, I'm going to charge $20 tomorrow, right? I mean, not a big, like very big, hard thing to do. You go in the website, you change it and all that. The implications are much, much broader, right?
Yes.
So the first thing when companies are thinking about making a pricing change, I always tell them, take some time to reflect and think through it, right? There are different things you need to think through. There are different people or stakeholders you have. It's not a one silo thing. So
Sure.
you need to understand your margins. You need to understand product marketing. Can they actually sell this story? You need to understand competition. You need to even understand, right? I mean, sales feedback, customer success, like how it
Yes.
so making a pricing overhaul. I think companies try to do it faster than I would like, but take that step, plan it accordingly. So that's one thing. If you are able to do that thing, then you actually have a lot more ideas about what are your strengths and what are your gaps. When you're able to identify your gaps, the second thing I always tell people is don't go in blind. The world is your oyster. Go and do some research.
Sir.
Talk to some customers. I mean, spend some money, do some research like a survey or something, or talk to some prospects and figure it out. Like, at least have some guesstimates around the changes you're making. And then do the change. The third step is trial and error. You have to observe. So the thing is, you cannot measure things unless you set up KPIs, right? So third step, set up KPIs of success. I want to get 1,000 customers in year one, for example. I want to get $5 million in terms of revenue or whatever that is, right? I have decided that I want to target this customer segment and I've created a package. Is this package selling, right? So create those KPIs and then measure accordingly. So that's it. If I summarize it, that it's three things. Strategy, pricing is strategic, and it is cross-functional, and it impacts your company's brand, your company's profits, and everything. So take a step, get in the groove together and figure that out. Second step, do research. Don't go in blind. The world is out there. People are willing to talk. So get that. And then the third is set up KPIs, that goals you want to hit, and then measure yourself against them. If it's working, great. It will not work many times. I have failed many times in terms of my first solution, but then I went and fixed it. Or then it didn't work, I fixed it again, and then it worked. So trial and error is your key to success. So that's it.
Nice. I love that. I love the breakdown, Shah. Thank you so much. So the next and maybe final question is, I know for you, you've been privileged to have like mentors who've been teaching you and guiding in terms of like, you need to do this. This is the proper way. But if we have people who have no connections or mentors, how would you sort of advise them to get into pricing? I know at a PMM, we normally learn the basics of how to handle pricing, but if somebody wants to become like a specialist, are there courses you can recommend? Are there people, you can, I know you've mentioned Kyle. So who else do you think they should be following, connecting with and reading, so that they can become also experts in pricing?
Great question. Love it. And I am very passionate about youth empowerment skills and everything. And I do like kind of like giving advice. So thank you for asking this question and giving me the platform. So first of all, I think mentors are very important, right? Even in life, you said, yes, people might not have mentors, but you can always seek mentors. So I would say, first of all, seek mentors. People are willing to help. You'll be surprised. I reach out to a lot of people on LinkedIn. I used to do that. And I was on a call with a very senior person of Uber Eats. And I was like, and I was at MBA job search mode, not this mode, right? Like when I'm talking in podcasts, I was listening to podcasts and like trying to figure out what do I do with my life. So When I was talking to her, and she got me an interview in like 3 days, and she told me, you'll be surprised. Not many people reach out. I mean, you were at your level, you were one of the few students like directly reached out to me. So again, I want to leave that this is a very powerful thing. It's really changed my kind of like point of view of the world that you got to ask. So go and ask. The opportunities you're not asking for, they're gone, right? What are people going to say? No, at best. So there's Simon Kutcher out there. You want to learn about pricing, reach out to their consultants and say, teach me pricing. I'm just saying it, but I'm just saying, you have all these companies and people who are growing up, like have made things, have done things in life. If you're genuinely curious, reach out to them. You have LinkedIn today, which connects the whole world, right? So that opportunity is there. Seek mentors. That's all. Number one. Number two, you have AI at your hand. Go to ChatGPT and tell them that, hey, I want to learn about pricing. I want you to pretend to be Shah, who's my pricing mentor. And now I'm going to give you a problem and you analyze it from the framework of Simon Kutcher, from the framework of SaaS pricing strategy frameworks and everything, and let it talk. And then go deeper, and then go deeper. Why? Why this way? Why this way? And you have your mentor. And then every day, if you're really learning about it, or every week, you can say, hey, ChatGPT, we talked about pricing for this whole week, about different topics and everything. How do you think I got better? Ask them every week. And they will tell you the things you learned.
Yeah.
Why I tell you this is not just about pricing. Anything in your life you want to learn today, you have AI. This is amazing tool. We used to have YouTube, right? I think my learning went up when YouTube became like wildly popular and there were podcasts like this very much available. I'm a very auditory learner, so I like reading, but I love like listening and like learning because then I never forget it. So anyways, so this is the next level where AI is there with all the answers and you can use it and go deeper as much as you want. Your curiosity is your only limitation. So be curious and make it your mentor. Take full advantage of that. Second thing. And third thing, I would say, again, a lot of material is out there. I don't want to say this one is good and that one is good. They're all good, right? I mean, more or less, anything coming out of Silicon Valley, they're the recent trends and everything. So hear about SaaS monetization, SaaS pricing. Look about like the people in big companies or well-known companies or companies that are doing interesting things and see out what they're saying, what they're thinking, because that's the forefront of what is happening. And maybe it's not happening in Africa and Bangladesh or India right away today, but it will happen today or tomorrow.
True.
So I want to leave everybody with those three things: that seek mentors, number one, do it. The world is your oyster and you can get a lot out of it, leverage it. The second one is use AI to be a mentor of your virtual mentor and try to go deep with why. Be curious. Curiosity is your only limitation. And then the last piece is there's a lot of things out there. Try to follow through as much as you can. The more you learn today, you more process the information. It will never hurt you. So the more you can.
Nice. So you've heard it, guys, from Shah. Remain curious, seek mentorship, and read. So what I think we can edit at that. Shah, you've given us invaluable feedback and invaluable insights. I know the PMMs are going to be listening in and taking notes. So back to you as we end this session. What's next for you? What exciting projects are you currently working on? Are you planning to stick with pricing? Do you want to take another specialization? How are things looking like in the future?
What's next for me? That's a very powerful question, Cal. I mean, yeah, you made me pause a little bit. Well, okay, so let's evaluate in this. Like, yes, pricing and monetization strategy. I love it. I love it even more now because the world is becoming more and more complex, and this problem is becoming more complex. For example, we used to do subscription-based pricing. Now we have to do consumption-based pricing because of cost and complexities and everything. Soon, what is the holy grail? Outcome-based pricing. You only pay for what you kind of like get out of it, right?
Yes.
And I think that is going to come at one point because of AI and technology and so much data we're able to analyze. So the journey is still interesting. So I am looking, keeping up to date of monetization, pricing strategies, and seeing how that kind of like path comes into. So that's of course something that I will continue to do so, and that is maybe next. The second one I would say is I'm very passionate about artificial intelligence because I use it a lot myself. And I have seen it get better and better and better over the last 6 to 9 months. And I would say I'm optimistically excited about it. Oh, sorry. Not say, let's say I have some reservations about it, how fast it's getting good and everything. But then again, people need to be able to leverage it. It increases your productivity, really,
Sure.
and everything. And you want to figure out what works for you. What works for me wouldn't work for someone else. So the more you use it and everything, I think that will make you better. So I mentioned I'm from Bangladesh. So I do a lot of like writing on Facebook. That's the most popular medium over there in terms of AI technology, how it's kind of like changing people's world. And the youth of Bangladesh should be ingrained and learn about it and kind of like focus on it. And it gives them, I think, some relatability because I was originally from there. I mean, I grew up there and then I'm here. So when I tell them, maybe it resonates a little bit. So that's the goal. So that's next. I want to take it to a higher level.
Nice.
Maybe through my voice gets amplified through different mediums. So how I can do that, that's something I'm thinking about. And then lastly, I like young people, Cal. I mean, I have a sister who's 20 years old. She studies engineering. And I see so much. I mean, obviously, I'm not that old, and I can't say like, oh, like my dad. But hey, I used to watch 4 miles to get to school and everything, right? I can't say that. But then again, one of the things I've seen is my younger sister is able to relate to my experiences better because of the recency. Because we was here listen to the same music. Taylor Swift, she's a fan, I'm a fan. All Swifties. So that's the thing. Like she can relate to my dad's like kind of like world and everything. So as I see that, I do want to work with young people more in terms of helping them understand what needs to happen, right? Like it's such a pivotal time, right? 20 to 30. So what are the different things they need to do in terms of life, in terms of technology and everything? That's another thing. So yeah, I mean, monetization strategy, artificial intelligence, and youth empowerment. That's me. That's what up next for me. I think you can like figure it out live.
I love it. I love it. And I think that sort of connects with how we'll end this call. You know, most of the guys, the PMMs here are youths. So how can they reach out to you?
Carol, thank you. You reach out to me through LinkedIn. I am on there. Reach out. I might not always get back, like time crunches and everything, but you follow up with me. I will get back. We can always jump on a call. If you have questions specific, like you can just type it in and my ChatGPT will answer. Oh, I will answer them. But again, please reach out. I mean, I know there's a lot of potential and a lot of things happening in Africa. When Carol reached out, I was super excited as well. I want to learn more about those things. So maybe it'll be reversed. I will be the host, and Carol, you are the, and I ask you a bunch of questions in terms of what is happening in the landscape. But then again, please reach out. Exciting times. Let's go.
Absolutely, Shah. I think that's it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend ahead. I know you're just starting your Friday, but here,
It's okay. It's Friday.
done.
We're weekend now.
Okay, Shah, enjoy your weekend and thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Cheers.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a pleasure, Carol, and have a great weekend as well. All the best.
Okay, cheers. Bye.
Bye.